Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to see if-else statements and switch case statements in JavaScript. In our previous videos of operators, there was a point where conditional operators were explained, and I told you that it's very much similar to if-else statements. So what are these if-else statements? They are also known as conditional statements, and this is because here we have to make decisions based on certain conditions. And for that purpose, we use if-else statements. Now, let me give you an example for making it more understandable. And for example, there is a website where it has been checked that are you capable or are you ready for driving, and maybe a website for issuing license for driving. Okay, and that website has to take inputs from user, and you are developing that website. Okay, now you have to take inputs from the user that if your age is below 16, then you will not get a license, or your license will not be issued. But in case if your age is above 16, then you'll get the license easily. Now, for doing this, you will have to take the input from the user, and as well as you make use of if-else statement in this kind of situations. Okay, the same example we'll see practically by doing it. Okay, so I have taken a script tag inside my body of HTML document, and I'm going to declare a variable age. Okay, and let's keep it empty in the beginning. Now I'm going to write if. Your if statements work something like this in JavaScript. So the syntax of if is if, and inside the round brackets, you're going to write the condition. And our condition is going to be, we have to check that whatever age the user is going to give us is greater than 16 or not. If it is greater than 16, then only it is, we'll be able to issue a license for that user, right? And you have to check this condition in this way, and immediately after that, you have to put this curly brackets, and this inside this curly brackets you're going to write your script, which is going to be executed further if the condition satisfied. Okay, that means if condition satisfies, means whatever is written under if is getting true, it is satisfying, then that control will come inside this curly brackets, which is written immediately after if statements, and whatever will be written inside this curly bracket will get this executed. Okay, so currently I'm going to write document.write, and inside that I'm going to write license has been issued. Okay, license is being issued because the age this control will only run, or this block will only run when your age is greater than 16. That's why license is being issued. We can write it like this. Okay, now let me give age as maybe 21, and let's see whether it prints these statements on the browser window or not. So I'm going to go to my browser and I'm going to refresh it, and here we go. License has been issued. It's printing the same. Okay, so this is how your if statement works. Okay, and for example, now I have some user is there, and the user age is not above 16, but it's below 16, maybe 12. So in this case, what do you think what will happen? If I'm going back and executing it, nothing is getting displayed because it doesn't satisfy the condition, and that's why it will not go inside this bracket, inside this curly bracket. When the control will come over here, it will check if age is greater than 16. Now in this case, our age is 12. So 12 is not greater than 16, and that's why it has came out of this bracket. Okay, and that's why you'll not get anything on your browser. So this is how it works. Okay, now you may be also experiencing one more thing, and that is we have made use of our comparison operator over here, right? Isn't it interesting? So whatever we are going to learn one by one, we'll be making use of them all together. So here in if statements, we usually make use of comparison operators and logical operators for making decisions, right? So in this case, user is not understanding what is going on, right? Whether I can get a license or not. And for doing that, we can do one thing, that we can write another if statement, and inside that we can give if age is less than 16. That is exactly opposite condition to what we have written above this. Okay, and inside this curly bracket, we can write document.write that you can't get a license because your age is not above 16, you're still small, right? So I can write license can't be issued. Okay, and let's see now what happens. Now my age is 12, and let's see whether it gives me a license or not. So it's telling license can't be issued. That means now this control is executing this particular line and not this line, because this condition is not being satisfied and this condition is getting satisfied. Okay, so this is how your if statements work. Now it's actually not a good practice to write if and if again and again. Okay, instead of that, there's another alternative for doing this, and that is by using if else statement. As the name suggests, if else, right? As the name tells that if the condition is true, then you do this thing, or otherwise you can do the else part, which is written in the else block. Okay, so instead of this, what we're going to do, we're going to simply replace this if statement with the else. Okay, and then it's going to work exactly the same how it was working. Now if you see age is 12, and it will still tell me license can't be issued, because how it's working in if else statement is exactly the same, but here you'll not require to write if and if again and again. Okay, here it's going to check if age is greater than 16, then it's going to execute this, and if it is not greater than 16, means if it is less than 16, then it's going to simply go into the else part. So this is how if-else statement works. If condition satisfied, then please enter into this block. Otherwise, else you go to the block which is written in if-else part. Okay. So let's see one more example. Now in this example, for example, you are developing a website where you have to take inputs from students, and the input is going to be their marks, and you're going to show them the grades according to the marks which they're going to enter. So for example, if their marks are greater than 80, they're going to get A grade. If the marks are greater than 60, they're going to get B grade. And if the marks are greater than 40, they're going to get C grade. And if it is less than 40, then they're going to get D grade. Okay, so this is what I want. Now, do you think it is possible with the help of if-else? It's actually not possible, because if-else will always be, working, or it will be always efficient when you'll be dealing with a condition. Either or conditions, means the condition which we saw just now, that if there's only one condition where you have to see whether it satisfies or not. Like for example, as we saw, if age is greater than 16, then you're going to get the license, or you're not going to get the license. So there's only one condition which you have to see, right? But the example which I just gave you now, that is a marks example of students, here we have to check multiple conditions, right? Because we are having grades from A to D, and in this case, if else will not work. Then what will work is your if else statement. It is more further than if else. So let's quickly see what is this if statement. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to take a variable called marks, and currently I'm going to put it maybe 81, and then I'm going to write over here if marks is greater than 80, then I want grade as A. So that particular student is going to get grade A, right? Now, if and then if it is not greater than 80, and if it is greater than 60 and below 80, then what you're going to do, you're going to write like this: else if. Okay, that means if it is not greater than 80 and some another condition is there, in that case you will be writing else if, and over here you will write marks greater than 60 and marks less than 80. And you see, we have made use of comparison and logical operators together inside if-else statements, right? Yeah. Now, if it is this condition, then the student is going to get grade B. Okay. And the same thing I'm going to write here again 2 times, because I have grade C and grade D. Okay, so the same thing I'll be writing over here, but over here the thing will get changed. If it is greater than 40 and less than 60, then you're going to have grade C, and then if it is less than 40, then you'll be getting D grade. Okay, so these are my conditions which I have wrote. Right, now there's one more thing. Now how this is working, that if marks is greater than 80, then you enter into this, Else if this condition doesn't satisfy, then go to the next statement and check if your marks is greater than 60 and less than 80, then you get B grade, then you enter into this block. If this also condition doesn't satisfy, then you go and check the next statement. If your marks is somewhere here in between 40 and 60, then you get a C grade. And if this condition as well doesn't satisfy, then finally you come in the last block, that is else block. So the last block of if else if statement will always be else, because here we don't require if, right? We are actually not there's no need to actually check this thing, because if these three conditions are not satisfying, means automatically there remains only one condition, and instead of writing else if, you can simply write else. Maybe I have got 75. So where do you think it's which if else part is going to work, or which it is going to execute, which block? So 75 means it's not greater than 80, so it will not go inside this block. When it will come to the second block, it's going to check, is it in between 60 and 80? Yes, it is between 60 and 80, and that's why it's going to go inside this block and it's going to execute this block. Now, there is an advantage of this, that is, it doesn't execute whole statements or whole line of code, whatever is written in if else. Wherever your condition gets satisfied, it will only enter into that particular block and it will execute that block, and it will leave the rest of all blocks. So here your time also gets saved. Isn't it interesting? So here in this case, it will only execute this block, and the control will only enter in this block, and it will leave the rest too, because there's no need to go there, because it's done here itself, right? So let's quickly check this. Now I have entered 75. So what does it show me? It shows me grade B, which is exactly correct, right? For example, if I write, maybe I've got 35. So let me see which grade it gave me. It gives me grade D. Isn't it correct? Yeah, so it's working absolutely and perfectly fine. So this is how your if if statement works, right? So this is if else statements. In that we have seen if statement, if else statement, and finally if else if statements. So this three can be used on various different conditions when you'll be dealing with. Okay. Moving on with this is how the flowchart looks like. Okay, if a condition is true, then you go inside the if statements, and if the condition is false, then you go in the else statement, right? Okay, with this we'll see what is switch case statement. So switch case, I can say it's very much similar to your if else if statement only. It's only an efficient way of writing this if else if statements. So how it is, let me give you with an example. For example, we take the same example which we have taken of marks now, and what we're going to do is we have got grades, right? Now, once we got grade, we are going to also tell that student that this grade means your performance is good or not good, or you have to do a little more better. Okay, and in this case, what we have to do is we'll be making use of switch case. So quickly, I'll be just removing this thing again. And what I'll do is, or let me keep this as it is. Let us write it somewhere below over here. So what we'll do, we'll take the grade. Okay, so where grade, I'm taking another variable for grade, where grade equal to, maybe I've got A grade now. Okay, and since it's going to be string, so I'll have to write it in double quotes. So remember this, that whenever you are giving a string value to your variable, you have to mention it in double quotes or single quotes in JavaScript. Okay. Then after this, I'm going to write switch case statement. So switch case looks something like this. Switch, and inside the switch, you have to write your attribute which you want to pass. Okay. I'm going to pass my grade over here, and inside this block. So switch also have a block similar to if statements and if else statements, and inside this switch block, you want to write your cases. So here we write cases, and whatever we pass in the switch bracket, that particular thing, if it gets matched with any of the case, it actually executes that case and it leaves the rest of the cases. Okay. So what I'm telling is, we'll just quickly see it. So I have case A. Okay. And inside this case A, I'm going to write. So this is the syntax of your switch case. I don't know, but something is wrong. Okay, I've written this spelling mistake. Yeah. So case A, and here I'll write document dot write. You've done a very good job. Okay, so I'll write excellent job. Excellent work done. Okay. So similarly to this, I'll be having other statements as well. So let's see it. So we have other grades like B, C, and D, right? This many grades we have. So if it is A grade, so that person has done really very good job, okay? And if it is B grade, then good work done. If it is C, let's see, average. And if it is D, you'll need to work hard. Improvement needed. Okay, I'll just write improvement. Okay, fine. So this is how your switch case works. Okay, so what is going to happen now is after executing this, switch is going to take this grade, whatever value is there in this grade, and it's going to check that value with the cases. So I have case A, B, C, D. So wherever it matches, it's going to execute that statement. Okay. So let's execute this and see. I've missed out the semicolon. It's good practice to write semicolon in JavaScript. Okay. Okay, so let's see what happens. So here as well, I'll make my marks maybe 90. So I have A grade now. So I've got A grade and excellent work done, good work done, average work done, improvement. Everything has been executed. Why do you think that this has happened? Everything has went and executed. Why? And this is because we have actually not given break over here. So what comes with your switch statement is also a break. So whenever you write a case, you have to immediately give a break after that. This break means it will simply stop. It will execute that particular case and it will stop the control to move further, to execute the next code of line. Okay, so this is the work done by break. So I wanted to show you what happens if we don't give a break, and this is what happened. It will go on and execute all the statement one after one if we don't give break. So break is also one of the important part which comes with switch case. Okay, and remember that after every case you have to give break, because it will simply break your control over there, and it will not allow your control to execute the next statements or code of lines. Okay, so this is a work of break. Now let's see how does it look. So grade A, excellent work done. So what it has done, it has executed the first from this if else, it has executed that. We've got grade A because I've given 90 marks. And over here, since I have grade A, it's giving me excellent work done. Isn't it great? Now, for example, if user has not entered its grade, in this case, what happens in switch case that we have one more statement, and that's called as default. So we write this default at the very end of your switch case statement. So this is syntax. Okay, you have to remember this. And in this default, we again can execute any statement which we wish. And this default statement get runs when none of the cases satisfied, which is written above it. Okay, if none of the conditions get satisfied over here, it's going to execute whatever is written in default. So this is a use of default. Now in certain conditions further, when you'll be working, you'll be requiring that if a user doesn't enter anything, then in that case what has to be done? So it will go on and execute the default statement. Okay, so let's see this with removing this grade. Okay, so now I don't have any grade, so what is going to execute is no grade. Okay, so I also remove in this case the marks which I gave, and let's see what happens. So here we go. So it has given me grade B and no grade. So this is how your switch case statements work.